so you guys can get out of here and go home. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Captain Heather Nibbs. I'm with Aztec PD. Renee has a sign-up sheet, so if you guys haven't signed in yet, please let me know. But we're just going to go over what you guys need to report for being daycare providers and just citizens of New Mexico, what's required by law with child abuse and neglect. And then after I'm done talking, we'll have a little bit of a break. Is it better? Okay, I'll have a little bit of a break, and then Jamie with CYFD will do a little presentation for you guys on her end of things. All right, so why this training matters to you guys. So you guys deal with these children on a daily basis. You understand their habits, you guys know their personalities, and you know when something changes with them. And then you guys also have a legal duty to protect. It's both civilly and criminally. So we're gonna go over all of that. And then you guys might be able to potentially save a life depending on if you guys report or not. So that's important. So there's a couple different frameworks we're going to look at. With legally wise, we're going to look at criminal statute, which is 32A-4-3, which is your duty to report. And it applies to every person within the state of New Mexico that's over the age of 18, and it requires that you guys immediately report by state statute. And it's everyone. We'll go over it a little bit more. It's not just for professionals like law enforcement, doctors, all that kind of stuff. And then you guys also have a duty to report through your licensing. So when we receive a report from CYFD or directly from you guys or Sky, we also have to report directly to your licensing. So that's why it's important to kind of cross-report between all three entities. So again, we're going to go over the New Mexico State Statute of 32A-4-3. So it states that every person who has information not privileged as a matter of law, which is like attorney privilege, doctor privilege, HIPAA, that kind of thing, who knows or has reasonable suspicion that a child is being abused or neglected shall report the matter immediately. So every person, like I said, within the state of New Mexico is if you're over the age of 18, but it specifically includes in that statute if you work in childcare, teachers, medical staff, law enforcement, that kind of stuff. And you need to be reporting to law enforcement, to CYFD, which is done through what's called SCI, which is statewide central intake, tribal authorities, if that applies, and any state licensing. And then again, the reporting must be immediate. You can't wait a couple days, talk to your supervisor, that kind of thing. It has to be immediate. So what must you report for the state statutes? You guys have to report physical abuse. So that's when somebody physically hurts a child's body. So if an adult causes injury to a child by hitting, shaking, or otherwise hurting them in any other way, you have to report that. Things that you might see is bruises that aren't consistent with normal child's play, burns, any marks, especially if they're in the pattern of like hands or fingers or belts or something that you can identify. If the child flinches or if their behavior is just not normal for them, or if they're afraid to go home. Any kind of sexual abuse. So that's when someone's involved with a sexual abuse regarding a child. So when a child is touched, asked to do something, exposed to it, anything like that, it could be sexual abuse. So you might notice behavior that's not consistent with the child's age, or if they have trouble sitting, walking, if they're in pain for an unspecified reason, if they have a sudden fear of one specific person or multiple specific people and it's a fast onset, or if they have a regression, so they go back into bedwetting, thumb sucking, all that kind of stuff, it might be a sign of abuse. Any kind of emotional abuse, so when someone hurts a child's feelings or self-worth, sorry, that cut out. So if they're consistently put down, yelled at, threatened, or made to feel worthless, and it could be from family, friends, that kind of stuff within their home. So things you might see are them being told that they're bad, that nobody likes them, some extreme behavior, if they're extremely withdrawn or aggressive, some delays in emotional development, or if they have a lack of attachment to caregivers sometimes. So also neglect, so that's when a caretaker fails to care for the child's basic needs. So if they're not getting what they need to be safe and healthy, then that could be considered neglect. So things that you might see are dirty clothes, if they have a strong body odor, poor hygiene, if they're always hungry or asking for food, and if they're not getting medical care, if they're not getting proper education as well. So we're going to go over what reasonable suspicion is. So you must report if you have knowledge or reasonable suspicion. So what reasonable suspicion is, it's a legal standard that's used to determine when a report of child abuse or neglect should be made. It does not require certainty or proof of the abuse is occurring. It only that a reasonable person with similar training and or experience would suspect abuse or neglect based on the information that's available to them at the time. So a mere gut feeling is insufficient unless it's supported by objective observations and consideration of personal biases. So there doesn't have to be an investigation on your part. That'll be handled by law enforcement and CYFD. If you're wondering if you should report, then just report anyways. When it's done through Sky, they have a screening tool, so you call down to Statewide Central Intake in Albuquerque, they'll take your information, which can also be anonymous. They'll screen it through their supervisors, and if they deem that something needs to be done, Jamie will go over the levels, but they send it to law enforcement and they send it to a CYFD worker. So we're double crossed. So again, you must report immediately, not after the shift, not the next day. It must be immediate so that we can get over there. We can make sure that child doesn't go home and go back into a dangerous situation. Reporting to your supervisor is not sufficient under law. You have to mandate state report to Sky, to law enforcement, and to the licensing board. So how to report that? You can contact your local law enforcement through dispatch or through 911 if it is an emergency. Statewide Central Intake, again, that's through CYFD. They can be made anonymously, and then good faith reports are always immune from liability. So with law enforcement investigations on my side, regardless the type of abuse or neglect you're reporting, when you call dispatch, we just ask that you guys have the children's name, the parents' information, date of birth, home address, phone numbers, all the demographic information that you can. That makes it a little bit easier for us. And if the child does tell you where the abuse is occurring, let us know. That just helps us establish jurisdiction so we can get an officer there to you quicker if it's us or if it's San Juan County. Document anything that they tell you, that you see. If you can take pictures without the kids kind of noticing. We just ask that you guys don't ask them leading direct questions like, who did this to you? Tell me what they did. That's bad, that kind of thing. Just document what they tell you and what you see. And then we can go from there, because we might have to do what's called a forensic interview, which is done with a certified forensic interviewer in Farmington at their facility. So what a forensic interview is they're a forensic interview that sits with them in kind of like a therapy type situation. They do rapport with the child. It's recorded. Law enforcement's there. CYFD is there. So we can actually use that in a court case so the child doesn't have to testify multiple times to what happened to them multiple times. We can use that in a court case. So it's easier when the child doesn't say, oh, well, my daycare teacher told me this or my mom told me this. So we just want you to get the basic information of what they tell you, what you see, and then call law enforcement and call Sky. And then we just ask if you can wait to contact parents or guardians, just so that we have a chance to investigate and determine what we're gonna do. Law enforcement's the only entity right now that can take custody of a child. CYFD actually has to have us there to do it, or they have to have a court order. So we like to be able to determine what we're gonna do without having to worry if the parent's gonna come pick them up or not. So we just ask that you call us first. If it's kind of close to time that parents are supposed to pick them up, just call us and let us know. We'll try to get an officer over there as soon as possible. So what happens after you report? We'll respond and do our investigation. We'll determine what kind of abuse it is, what needs to handle on our part, if there's criminal offenses. If there's not, CYFD can also cover her part, because there's certain things that might not be criminal, but that CYFD can also substantiate on their end, such as like verbal abuse, medical neglect, that kind of stuff, if it doesn't fall under the criminal realm. We'll also have medics respond if needed. And then, like I said, Statewide Central Intake will review the report, cross report to law enforcement. Jamie will go over their levels of priority, but it'll go to the local law enforcement agency. So even if they screen out, it still comes to us, and we have a detective that will follow up on those cases as well, if it's not an immediate threat. So there are consequences for failing to report. There's a New Mexico Supreme Court case listed right there. It's a negligence per se. And so how does that apply to you? It just failure to report under that statute can automatically establish negligence in civil court. And that's both for the facility and for yourself. So even working with kiddie camp, if you don't report, you can be sued civilly individually as well, as possible criminal charges in addition to that. So criminal liability, failure to report is a misdemeanor, which can be up to 364 days in jail and up to $1,000 fine. Also, preventing someone else from reporting is also illegal. There's also a statute that I forgot to put in there, but if you don't cooperate with CYFD, that's an offense as well, that's a misdemeanor. So that helps us with parents that aren't being cooperative. And then there's also civil liability for you guys. You guys can be personally sued for liability for damages, negligence, wrongful death, failure to protect a child, because you had a duty and failed to act. So just be aware of those consequences. This is just, what should I do if I report? Do you observe any or suspect any abuse or neglect? If you say yes or you're unsure, do you have reasonable suspicion? So it just goes through this. If you do, my biggest takeaway from this is just, if you're not sure, report anyways. We'll come investigate, or CYFD will investigate. We'd rather you guys overdo it than not know and we send a child home and something happens to them. So there is protection for you if you report. So like I said, good faith reporters are protected. So good faith is you're acting honestly and without malicious intent. You have reasonable suspicion that a child is being abused or neglected, and you're making the report because you believe it's in the best interest of the child to be protected. You cannot be punished for reporting, and identity is generally kept confidential, but not guaranteed. I know with CYFD, they'll sometimes put anonymous. They might have your phone number, but it'll say anonymous. We try to keep you guys confidential if you want to stay confidential. It just isn't guaranteed sometimes. And again, telling a supervisor does not protect you personally because it does not satisfy that legal duty under the New Mexico statute. So this just goes over it again, common mistakes. Well, I told my supervisor I wasn't sure if I should report it. I didn't want to be wrong. It's not my job. So all it requires is that you report reasonable suspicion. So this is just a few scenarios. So scenario 1, a child frequently arrives extremely hungry, eats excessively, and wears dirty diapers or clothes, several days in a row. Do you need to report? So this one is yes. This may be neglect under the statute. Patterns matter. Repeated conditions creates your reasonable suspicion. You're not required to confirm parental intent or financial status. And a failure to report this could later be used as a negligence per se claim in civil court. So scenario 2, you suspect a child is being abused, but your supervisor tells you to just wait and see. What do? You still report it anyways. The law applies to you as an individual, not the facility. So under state licensing, it is also required that you report immediately to authorities. Internal policies cannot override state law. If you fail to report, you can be charged, not your director, so it's personally to you guys the statute applies. Scenario 3, a child tells you my mom's boyfriend hits me, but don't tell anybody. In this one, you're going to report immediately. So direct disclosure is an automatic report, and you cannot promise that child any secrecy. You don't have to tell the child you're reporting. Just call Sky, call law enforcement, your state licensing, and we can go from there. Scenario 4, a 4-year-old is using sexually explicit words and has exhibited sexual behavior towards other children. What do? So on this one, report it immediately. That behavior is not age appropriate. So just look at what's age appropriate for that age. So a 4-year-old shouldn't know about masturbation, shouldn't know about touching other people's genitals, that kind of thing. So that might indicate that sexual abuse is being done on that child. We're not there to get him in trouble. We just want to make sure that that child is being safe. So we want to find out where they're learning that behavior and make sure that they're not getting perpetrated on themselves. So scenario 5, a parent arrives to pick up their child. While signing them out, you can smell the odor of alcohol emitting from their breath as you speak with them. They're unsteady on their feet and they're slurring their words. What do? So we ask you to contact dispatch immediately to report. They're not safe to go with that parent because they appear to be intoxicated. So attempt to stall the parent as good as you can and delay them in leaving. If they do decide to leave, if you guys can just get us direction of travel, vehicle information, where they might live, that just as much information as you can provide us, and that way we can go at least check on the child. So scenario 6, a child comes in with a black eye. The parents state that the child fell off the couch, but there's been no prior concerns. What do, and do you report it? So this one might be a maybe. It might be talk to your supervisors and figure out what you guys want to do. Just look at consistency of the explanation. If the explanation doesn't match what the injury looks like, it probably isn't correct and they're just being coached to say that. Look at the child's behavior, and then again, look at the injury type. Is it consistent? Is there any kind of certain patterns that you're looking at? So just to go over it again, everyone's a mandated reporter. You guys need to report immediately, and reasonable suspicion is enough for you guys to make a report. So failure to report any of that is a crime, and you guys can be charged individually and civilly liable. Do you guys have any questions for me? I know that's a lot. Yes, Renee?
I have a lot of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a lot of there. So we'll start with inappropriate talking of a 4-year-old.
Yes, ma'am. I can't put that back in.
So I've done some research since before the TV.
Yeah.
So children that get curious about that age, boys are boys and girls are girls, and they start to learn whether they have older siblings or whether they are going in a boys' bathroom or going in a girls' bathroom, that they have now either figured out, seen, heard, whatever, from their siblings or whomever, that they have one has a penis and one has a vagina.
Yeah.
And they're curious to that. So the words, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Are you telling us that we have to report that?
It depends on the situation. I don't want to tell you no, because I understand that a lot of little kids have older siblings, or they see other people do it. Like they're exposed to some things. And I don't want you guys to report every time a kid said, oh, this person, like that kind of things. It's going to be a discretionary thing on yours. What's not normal is if the behaviors, and Jamie can talk about this more because she deals with that side of it, but like what's inappropriate, like talking about, I would rather you guys over-report than under-report, if that makes sense. Because for a 4-year-old to say, I masturbated and let me lick your penis isn't normal. And so it just depends. I understand kids are gonna get curious, especially certain age groups. We completely understand that. It's more of the, okay, this isn't normal from what the other kids in this facility are doing or what we've normally seen, kind of a thing. Does that make sense? I know. And especially with all the social media and everything like that. Our concern is that something is going on at home or they're being perpetrated against, and that's how they're communicating. And I don't want to like make more work on you guys or make more work on us. We just want to make sure that these kids are staying safe, and it's going to be just a case on case basis, gray area like we see all the time. But just look at their behaviors, kind of look at their background, what you guys normally see out of them. Is it one day they're not talking about it, then the next day that's all they're talking about, kind of a thing. So
Another question that I have is a parent shows up and smells like alcohol. We have had that situation. So my question to you about that is, I can remember a particular, and it has been a long time ago, but we called, installed, alcohol bottles all over in that car.
yeah.
The officer did show up, it was here in Aztec, and they let her go.
So we have to do our own investigation. We understand, like, it's not illegal to have, it depends. So there's an open container law within.
This lady was
Drunk.
Who do we call after an officer
Does that?
blatantly did not do their part?
You can call me. You have my number. You can call me, because we want to make sure that they stay safe. And I understand you guys aren't going to put yourselves in a bad situation to stop a drunk driver. But if you can help us with, okay, they just left, they're headed this way, this is the license plate, this is where they live, then it kind of gives us a better idea of, oh, a black car just left, unknown direction of travel, unknown time delay, we don't know where they live. So it's more of trying to get us, and I get it, we're short-staffed as well. We have 2 officers on shift per when we have it. And sometimes one's at the jail, so we might just have one. So we have calls stacked up. We might have a little bit of a delay, but still just call it in. So at least you guys cover yourselves if anything happened. Does anybody else have any questions? And if you have any other questions, you can call me. Anybody else? We're gonna take like a 5-minute break so we can switch out microphones. So if you guys wanna take, yes ma'am.
So when you're talking about, you need to report right now. So if, we have an incident, so we're all here, right? And they ask us to come in, and we say, report it. Is that okay?
I guess I don't understand what the question is.
So in you said that our staff need to report no matter what network it's in there, it said, don't talk to your supervisor, just report it.
No, they can talk to the supervisor, but it's saying that just telling your supervisor does not meet that state statute. So they just have to ensure that somebody's actually being called and not just say, well, I talked to my supervisor and they said that they would call, like just following through, especially with the supervisor part of it. But it's just saying that as an individual, you're not covered if you say, well, I talked to my supervisor. You can still be held criminally and civilly liable for that. So just follow through as the employee level of, okay, did we report it? Did we do this? That kind of thing.
So therefore, I have a number of them that are probably very intimidated by doing that.
Yeah.
So if they were to come to me, Barry or Jolene or whoever, while they stood there and we called and they heard us call into.
Absolutely.
Are they?
Yeah. So as long as they're ensured that, hey, we called, this is what we need to do, that kind of thing. The issue with it is like previous calls that have been on, not with you guys, but just previous calls at other facilities is, well, I let my supervisor know, but that was like 3 weeks ago and we never called it in, kind of a thing. So it's just saying that, hey, I understand you told your supervisor, but that doesn't cover you legally. Because I think a lot of us, even when I worked at a daycare when I was in college, and I'm like, well, I told my supervisor, so I'm covered, but that's not what the law says. So I just wanted to make them aware that just because you tell a supervisor, you have to make sure and follow through. Absolutely. But yeah, if you guys call, I completely understand that, and we can handle it that way. Any other questions? And my email's up here and my phone number, or that's the department phone number, but Renee has my phone number. If you guys have any questions that you don't feel comfortable asking out loud, you're more than welcome to email me or text me. And I can answer those because I know it's kind of intimidating. Actually, can I get on Word? Or let me adjust this and I'll put my cell phone number up here. I don't know how to fix it. That's Jamie's. That's not mine. Okay, this is my, that's my cell phone, so if you guys need to text me or call me, feel free. If you guys have any issues, me and technology. There it is. All right, there's my cell phone. If you have issues in the future, Renee, you can always ask for a sergeant or a lieutenant once you get, because we have sergeants on duty almost all the time. So just ask to speak with the supervisor and we'll address that, because not okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll take a 5-minute break so we can switch out microphones for you guys.